Namaste everyone, welcome back. So we have discussed in the previous class about the characteristics of the one who is established in his wisdom, in her wisdom. And this is a very uh, higher perspective, not higher in the sense that it is unattainable, but higher in the sense that at other times we are governed by the emotions, and in no way these emotions are inferior or bad, or but understanding that these emotions which gives us actually a possibility to be human, to be alive. Because if we see this idea of Sthitaprajna, then it looks like from this description there is no fun in the life. Life is boring if I'm established in this prajna, this wisdom. So as long as it is boring and the need for this understanding does not arise, it's fine. We need more experiences with the emotions. And what is described here, the idea that Krishna is giving after all these emotional roller coasters that the Arjuna has gone through, he is giving him a possibility that, look, you are right now in this state of the power of emotions, that they are guiding your self, your thoughts, your body. Means they are on the driver's seat. They are deriving your all faculties, which is injustice to the higher faculties, that they are governed by these emotions. Because there is other aspect of the self more than emotions. And the emotions are like they are becoming more than what they are. So very interesting, very important understanding that is required is that they give the emotions the due respect. If we can really give due respect to the emotions, then only we can move on from there. If we don't give that respect to these emotions, then there's no way we can move ahead. So this idea of sthit prajna, sthit means to be established. Sthit means a position. To establish in a position. It's not about the physical body that you need. However, from the yogic practice point of view, it starts from there. That you establish yourself in a position, asana, from the practical point of view. But here, when they mean prajna, then they are talking about the higher faculties of our being, which is this stage is close to samadhi, pre-stage of samadhi. And when we are in this stage, then all the dualities are finished. There is no duality left. So it is a state of consciousness where the waves in the thoughts, mind, emotions, breathing, and the body has come to the halt, that they are settling. So there is a sense of settling down of all these layers of our being, and the consciousness is established in this world. To understand this Sthitaprajna, what is that wisdom? We understand pre-stages of it. Before that, again, I have to use the word understanding. When we are on this path of yoga, meditation, then somewhere each experience of the practice brings understanding. But this is very superficial. There are many small aha moments that we have with our practice. Aha, oh, wow, I got it. Even that aha experience is felt in the asana also, when you are able to attain a posture which you thought you will not be able to. So for your understanding, it's a aha movement. Oh wow, I got it. Kamalji is able to provide that experience to many of you when you were here in doing the asana practice, and then he came, and then you didn't know what he's going to do, and then he just put you in the Scorpio pose, one of his favorite way of giving this aha experience. And then he has already left you, and then you realize, then you knew, oh, I am already in this. Ah, what an experience. But it's momentary. In the next class, Kamalji choose that he will not come to adjust you, and that aha experience is gone. And you go back to your unconscious, where unconscious says you cannot do it. It's dangerous. But somebody who is not having this experience, even when this person looks at Kamal, when you are doing your Urdhva Dhanurasana and he stands on your thighs, people think, what is this? It's madness. But this person on his legs, he is standing, is enjoying. This person outside of it cannot understand. This is understanding. The understanding involves experience. Through your experience, you have some glimpses of that understanding. And these small experiences, when they are coming together of understanding, these experiences start to sink in unconscious. If they are not in the unconscious, then your understanding is short-lived. Your understanding is momentary. And then it is not very interesting. Then we go back to our old habit pattern. And the habit pattern is, I can't do it. It means that your understanding has not deepened yet. When this starts to deepen, means that you are able to go into your unconscious. And from there, all the behavior, all the action that you take, then there is no intellectual involvement required in it. This stage is deeper stage than the understanding. It is called bodh. It's a degree of understanding, but much deeper. Bodh means this bodha is used a lot in Buddhism. Bodhi tree, Buddha. So it's a kind of inner knowing where your understanding is reflected into every single pore of your skin. Now, here you don't need thinking. Here you don't need this intellectual processing. The processing is not required. It is very much in the unconscious, and you just do it. Like once you know how to do this, when you have repeated this experience of Scorpio pose again and again and again, and you just do it. Noli, this Kriya, Noli is also have that. Initially, you try to understand how to isolate your this rectus abdominis and isolate and bring it into the center. You are trying to understand. Then you have some aha experience, and then nothing is needed. You just stand and click. No steps that we have to follow in the beginning are required. Of course, if you want to do the good knowledge, then even with the breath in also you can do the knowledge, because you know how to isolate it. It's your embodiment, yes, both, where you are very, very deeply established. And now there is a possibility, when this has happened, to enter into the state of Pragya. Sthitaprajna. Pragya means wisdom. That's where you are. Now here, when we are established in that understanding, when we have lived with this embodiment of understanding, and then the stage will come that will be Pragya. Now, Arjuna is in this state of confusion and anxiety and so much fear, attachment, and Krishna is saying, be Sthitaprajna. How is that possible? He's talking something impossible to him. Now, it has to be understood in these two ways, that it is a natural expression to the one who has already gone through these steps. Since I try to break down this understanding, embodiment, and then wisdom, already it should be clear that it is a practice. He is saying to Arjuna that you be established in your wisdom. When you are established in your wisdom, then you can see everything without any duality. So what wisdom, what pragya is this? To be able to see everything as one. So the mind here does not exist, because the mind sees the things in fragments, segments, parts. So it is not an intellectual state of your wisdom is not something intellectual here. Because the very essence of intellect, the mind, is not existing. Where one is able to see the things in total oneness. And who can see and who can establish in this oneness? Someone who is awakened to the fact that I am Brahman. Then I don't need anything else to be happy. Atmanev tushtaha. So one who, having renounced all desires born of the mind, is satisfied in the self and by the self, is said to be the one whose insight is steady. Where now this is again going to be difficult, because then you say that if my desires, how can I stop them? So as I already explained, that this is when Krishna is saying, establish in your wisdom, is to be the Sthitaprajna. What he meant for us is that we have to practice it. So it is sadhana. This is what the word in Sanskrit, sadhana. Sadhana means, now here one interesting thing has come into it. Action is involved. Now I'm trying to bring you to another concept, that Bhagavad Gita has given us three aspects: knowledge, knowing, action, and feeling or devotion. And they are all one. So when I have understood this fact that in order to overcome my fears and anxieties, to be established in my wisdom, I have this understanding now by my experience, by my all the study, my practice. Then I come to this conclusion that, oh, this is practice to be established in my wisdom, Pragya. And then, as soon as he said practice sadhana, like it means action is involved. Kriya. Action is already involved into it. Now, this is not only or not merely intellectual pursuit. Please, that's where whole problem is. That when I read this, okay, Sthitaprajna, and I am this, and I see everything as one. But this is just a fraction of my intellect which has understood this. And if I don't take action, then this is not going to be established. And then it will be a whole difficult path, because you thought that if I read Bhagavad Gita, then I will be done with everything. So that's why in the forthcoming chapters, or even just before these verses in 247 and 248, already the karma yoga is introduced. Because without action, this understanding is not possible. Means if I want to have this jnana, this pragya, this knowledge, I need to involve into the action. And that's where Arjuna got confused. What is this? You just said establish in your intellect, in your knowledge. Then if I establish in my knowledge, then why are you telling me to do all this horrible action? Why should I do this action? So that's where it is further clarified that it is a sadhana. Sadha means that you are balancing. One good example to understand that is also in our asana practice, especially in the balancing postures, but more clarity. You may have seen the people walking on the rope, that you can walk on the rope. What they do? How do they walk? What is that action? It is sadhana. Sadha means that they have a stick. Sometimes they use a stick to put it on the shoulders, or they use something, and this is the action that this stick, with this they are going to create a center, and then they move using that stick, finding that balance. It is sadhana, like a dancer, like a like any of the, even music. In the music also we have the same element of practice. And very interesting thing is that as we do the practice, means action, means karma, there is understanding. This is where these things are connected to each other. There is understanding that this is the sound that I'm doing in my, like you are learning piano or singing, you immediately know when you make it wrong. If your sound is not proper, you know it. When you fall, you know it.
No.
When you do this flute, you are listening or not? When you play the flute,
Yeah.
and if you make a mistake, do you need anyone else to tell you this is incorrect?
Depending on
Or
my,
you just find out yourself,
yes,
except Guruji when he's not there with you?
after practicing a lot, I can find myself, but sometimes I
Yeah,
cannot.
yeah. Of course, this is what I mean here. That when we practice, knowing happens. I'm trying to bring your attention to the fact that knowing is not separate from action. This is where all the confusion is there, that people has made the jnana, karma and bhakti yoga as a separate discipline, and there is so much fight over that. With action, with repeated action, with practice, with sadhana, you start to know what is happening now. This is sadhana. Means now another, like we have the maturity of the emotion, here there is maturity in the action. With my practice, with my sadhana, I start to become mature in my action. And That highly mature action is karma yoga. When your action has reached to the maturity of it. Bhagavad Gita calls it yoga karmashu kausalam. That with skill, this skillful action is karma yoga. There are many facts coming into this, that this knowledge that I am the Brahman, I am that Sthitaprajna, I do not need, because I am satisfied with myself, I do not need anything to be calm, to be relaxed, to be happy. Now it is a practice, so we need to involve into the action. This is karma yoga. And what karma yoga? In the beginning, there is no karma yoga. It's only kriya, action, karma, until it gets mature. What is the maturity of the action? The highest possibility of a mature action. My favorite example is that when you give up your seat in a bus to someone who needs it. This one example is enough to understand the whole lot of the mental processing, emotional processing, and processing at the action level. An immature action is you give up the seat, but with so much frustration and blame and shouting and anger. Immature action, where some needy person has requested you, somewhere you are not going to give the seat by itself. This person says, could you please help me to give seat because I cannot stand? And then this person gets up from the seat, but immature action by showing whatever the attitude this person is carrying with oneself at the time. Immature action. A little change can happen. You see the person, and then you give up your seat, and then you pat yourself. I'm a karma yogi. I practice yoga, and I am on the path to be Sthitaprajna. What is this seat? It's just for an hour. It's not my seat. The seat belongs to the bus. Bus does not belong to me. You get all that karma yoga knowledge there. And then whenever there is a discussion on giving up the seat in the bus, you feel so happy about it and tell everyone, I'm so nice. I give always the seat to someone who needs. This is another level of action. In this way, this action that we are talking here in the sense that is karma yoga, what are the qualities of that action? What is that which makes an action a mature action? Highly mature action. And is it possible, hold on, is it possible to have that action without knowledge? Or this action brings that knowledge to me? Difficult to differentiate. Yeah.
When you when you are doing the action for the sake of action, because of your responsibility, because out of your duty, and not because of the result.
Mhm. So this
So
is where
you
the all,
suppose
yeah,
you saving animals because you like the animals, but if no one see you on the street and you kick that dog, then it means that you don't do it because you feel it from your heart, but you do it because you want to show off, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, true. So these are the steps, and in these steps, what makes an action karma yoga? So first thing that is mentioned is giving up the fruits of the action, because it is a real understanding about the action that the result does not depend on you. The mature action will happen with this deep understanding, bodha, that all the consequences of the actions that will come, they come out of the laws of nature. There is a law that governs this whole process. Because my previous habit is to identify always with the result. This is where also we start even the practice of yoga. Okay, all the Instagram ad about the practice, they must give many reasons what will you get out of it. And anyone who identifies with that result, that consequence, looking for, will be interested in it. But if you're not identifying with that outcome that you have shown there, then you will not have any potential inquiries. This is where you start to practice. Okay, I am doing this practice because I want to do my asana so that I can cure my back pain. And then you do the practice of asana, and then you realize at the same time that it's nothing to do with my back pain. You already reach to that understanding with your action that the consequence of my practice is something else. Then I limit it to the small thing of removal of back pain. So in this way, the mature actions are those in which there is understanding of the consequences, that they come out of the laws of nature, not on my like or dislike. And then further, one more thing that they add is that dropping the idea of ownership into it. It's the same meaning in different words. Is a highly mature action. Now, the highest possibility of the mature action in the bus, again, you sense even this person does not intentionally show any need for the seat, but you can also pick up that highly matured action, and you offer the seat, and it's over. The moment it is done, it's finished. So it is a highly matured action This is what the Bhagavad Gita has termed. This is Nishkam Karma, that action without any anticipation of the fruits of. Is it possible to reach to that without knowing? Please again make it this link that the understanding, because we are doing the sadhana, cannot come for very few, except them it is possible without action. Means karma is inevitable. Karma is just another way to jnana, to knowledge. So there is no separate karma yoga. The highest of karma yoga is jnana yoga. Because without that knowledge, that understanding, that wisdom, you cannot recognize this fact that I give up the seat and it's finished. It means you are already established in your. In this further, in this two steps, one more thing is there which is required, is an attitude of surrender. That is called bhakti. This is the entire Bhagavad Gita's, the essence of it. That I establish in my knowledge by performing the action, but there is an attitude required, and that attitude is of non-doership or surrender. Repeatedly, when we go through the verses of Bhagavad Gita, I have not done this yet, but I want to do this work to put all the things together and see how many times they are repeated. Even this verse number 56 in the second chapter, as we are talking the qualities of the Sthitaprajna, is here. Because I already told the essence of it. Who is Sthitaprajna? That one who has gone above the dualities. And what are the dualities? In the midst of suffering and happiness, his mind is neither confused nor kindled. He who is free from desires, passions, fear, and anger, said to be a sage of tranquil mind. Very interesting thing is mentioned here, that passions, fear, and anger, these three things are the cause of all the turbulence that we have in our mind. To work with it, action is required. The action is required to work with passions. Action is required to work with fear and the anger. And to be able to put them into the balance is the whole work that we are supposed to do. So that balance that we are supposed to acquire, this third aspect will be also very, very important, equally important as action. To surrender that I-ness, that doership, that ownership. Because the action itself involves a lot of ownership into it. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Shraddha or Samarpan or the surrender is spoken in all these chapters, particularly when we see the chapters 8th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. In all these chapters, there is so much of Shraddha, surrender, devotion, and this interaction that happens here, it happens through the senses. So senses, mind, and intellect, and the self. Then we need some clarity on it. And that's where the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is very, very significant, because in the 6th chapter, the practice of meditation is suggested. Because the practice of meditation will be helpful in achieving this state of Sthitaprajna. So the knowledge, the action, the samarpan, the surrender, all these aspects of our being, because they are one, they are not separate from each other. This should not be studied as Bhakti Yoga is branded by one group, Karma Yoga is branded by another group, Jnana Yoga is branded by another group. This is not the case, which is these days happening a lot, because we are in this game of branding everything. So even this unifying message of Bhagavad Gita is also separated and branded separately. Is so confusing. From the very beginning, the clarity is there that they are not separate. If I act with understanding, the knowledge, supported with feeling. If I'm feeling, does not mean you're simply just going overwhelmed by your feelings. No, it is supported with action and understanding. If I understand something, it is not merely that I have solved something in my head, but it is supported into my action and my feeling. One helps the another, cannot be separated. So Jnana, Bhakti, Karma, Yoga are like the triangle. There is no existence of the another without the other two. So now the question comes that, okay, this is there, but when it comes to practice and these things seems to be still in the air, then this chapter of meditation is so useful. The 6th chapter, which is the chapter on meditation, is mentioned. There are few interesting things that are given in this chapter, and we have discussed some of the things from this chapter, but I would like to take you directly to the verse number 17 in it, because this is where we can do something, and with this understanding, when we do anything, it will be very fruitful. And this says that what is the practice of yoga? the practice of yoga, practicing yoga will vanquish the troubles of one who performs his duties diligently, who is disciplined, balanced in his eating, sleeping, and waking. Sorry. Now understand that I try to, this translation is not so clear. So, as we all know that people say yoga is a way of life. How to actually know that yoga is way of life? What is the meaning of that way of life? What is way of life? What involves way of life? Very, very useful word that they have used is yukta, moderate. Yukta ahar. Now it's an extremely useful verse. Whenever there is confusion about how much to do, then come back to this word and understand here. It is saying yukta ahar means moderate intake, of everything. What are the ways of intake? How do we have this intake? The intake is through the senses. Any kind of intake. How do we absorb it? This is the secret of meditation, where a lot of times whenever an idea of senses comes and we read Bhagavad Gita and control of senses and control of mind, we completely misunderstand the things, misinterpret the things. And this is the verse which will clarify everything. It says, yukta means, moderate means in right amount. What is the meaning of right amount? Not much and not less. What is required to know that? That will require your presence. If I am not present, then this will not happen. What is the meaning of being present? Present to the intakes, that which we have through our senses. Yukta ahar. Everything that is fed by you through your senses, be alert on that junction where this particular sense that is connected to that object of its pleasure. So the eyes, what is the food or intake of eyes is all that which is all the visuals, easy to say, visuals, everything that is there in the visuals is absorbed by the eyes. Why do we get so exhausted when we come back from a shopping mall or from market and no shopping? Even you just go for window shopping. What do you call it? Not shopping, but you just go to the mall, in every shop, and you get the visuals, and then you get exhausted. Because this is where the food of eyes is. Yukta ahar means this food, the intake of the visuals, all kinds of visuals possible. be alert, aware, filter, select what is appropriate, what is not appropriate. And that's where the whole faculties of your awareness will come into play. Your intellect, your mind, your senses, they all need to be in one direction. When I filter my intake, when I put the filters, then the baggage that I am absorbing from all the senses is minimized. So the sense of vision, sense of hearing, sense of smell, sense of taste, and sense of touch. These all the intakes are very, very useful. They nourish us. They satisfy us. I jokingly say that if we have the acro yoga, why does acro yoga exist? Because it helps you to satisfy the sense of touch. That you can find somebody free of cost without any emotional baggage on you. You can touch, and you're free from. You don't take anything else. You leave this person in the classroom, and you do all your acro, and you're done with it. The need for touch is specified with the acro yoga. So here when they are saying yukta ahar, then it should be understood in this way. Yukta means moderate. Moderate means right amount. Remember, it is not saying block it out. It is not saying not have it. It is not saying to deprive your senses from intake. In the beginning, at least, it is putting a check on it. Just a check on intake solves number of issues related to emotions also. Yukta ahar and yukta vihar means recreation. Recreation is also meant. And yukta sleeping means right amount of sleep. And right means being moderate, being established in this understanding of that whatever the intakes that I'm having, they are filtered. This is pratyahara. This is prerequisite to meditation. Prati means reverse, ahar means intake. You reverse this intake of all the items through the senses and taking it back to this mind, because they all originate from the mind. So you reverse that is pratyahara. How to do that? You cannot directly reverse it, but you bring awareness, you put the check of the moderation, right amount, not depriving. When we are very excited, the chances are we go on deprivation, that you deprive yourself from that particular thing which is you feel you are haunted by. So people deprive with food, people deprive themselves with all kinds of pleasures, people deprive themselves from sex, people deprive. This is sick mentality. This is where perhaps Freud has said that all the mental issues that they arise because of you have deprived yourself from he attached everything to the libido. If your libido is deprived, then you go into this mental problem. Just minor part of what he has explained. But here, when we are understanding this idea of yukta, it's a very, very healthy understanding, embodiment of behaving with your senses, that how the senses need to be. Yukta ahar, yukta vihar, sleep, food, in your waking state, in your sleeping state, everything is yukta. And then he says, yogo bhavati dukkha, all the sorrows will vanish. The sorrow, all the pain, all the suffering is finished. So this is one understanding from the sense point of view required for the meditation. Then another understanding that is there, in this verse is in the chapter 8, verse number is 12 and 13 in chapter 8. The same thing in a different context, in different words, going to another step of meditation. It says, Sarva Dwarani Sanyam means a person who has awareness of all the doors of connection to the world. So all the gates, all the ways through which mainly the senses, so all the openings, the easiest way, all the openings, you put the check on all openings in the body. So how many openings we have? 9 openings in this field. So you check on all the 9 openings, and the previous verse which I said, yukta will bring that awareness to all the openings. And then, since why this check is required, because in ordinary states of consciousness, awareness, we are totally unconscious to that happening or that connection that happens with all the openings, all the senses. We are unconscious of that. So when this practice of meditation, how to prepare, bringing the awareness to the senses, intake of the senses and putting the awareness into it, then what will happen? Then what happens? Fix the mind on the heart. Now, this is another way of taking yourself back. So first the senses are withdrawn. Now where these senses will report? To whom the senses report? Senses report to the mind. And to whom the mind reports? Mind reports to the intellect. And where this intellect is? In the heart, in the cave of the heart. Very interesting phenomenon. And what is the function of the heart? Even if we say physically, here we are not talking much into the physical context. The function of the heart is to receive the impure blood and provide the pure blood to the body, all the organs, right? This is the heart's work. Now, it is saying that as you are bringing your senses back and to the mind and to the heart, then it will be a beautiful process from here. And that change will be that everything that goes out from the heart is love, purity. Because the heart never does this opposite process. Heart always purifies and sends the purified blood to the organs of the body. So when we are referring to the heart, and from here whatever we give is purified. Then it is saying Om, then what you do? So then the technique that is given, the technique is meditation on Om. That now when you have done, then you establish your chitta, your prana into this 10th opening, that is the crown. And then initially it is chanting, but ultimately listening to that cosmic sound from there is that meditation. So the meditation, the concept of this is where, if I summarize everything, then to be established in the pragya, into the wisdom, what is required? We need practice. Practice there are three main ways that Bhagavad Gita has suggested: Jnana, Bhakti and Karma. Now, in order to bring it further into the practice, connect to the senses, Yukta. So, this journey of Sthitaprajna, that is the stage in which the Krishna is saying to Arjuna that you establish in it. What we do for that is this process. that we establish in our knowing, action, and devotion and feeling. And practically, when it comes to the practice part, in the form of meditation, then bringing the idea of this yukta, moderation, filtering, and in that state, one technique which is given in Bhagavad Gita is recitation of Om. Means if we do this way, it is the way to be Sthitaprajna. There are so many different ways are suggested, but I could only explain here in this time this one way and connecting it all together. What is the result of it? The result of it is that the dualities of life are vanished. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is supposed to act, because without the action, this is now two ways he said in Bhagavad Gita, two ways are suggested. One is sannyasa, that you can directly get the renunciation, and another way is this: involve into the action. With the help of the action, you get the understanding, and then you have this idea of surrender, of I-ness, and then having it all together will help to establish into this Sthitaprajna. There are a number of other things, but somehow I could, because we have to summarize it. So what I tried is to bring this core concept of bridging this gap into all the philosophical things, how exactly to be the established in the Sthitaprajna is to start working with the senses, to be moderate, practice there, and then meditation, and then that will lead towards the possibility of Sthitaprajna. I think that is all for today. Thank you very much.